Awaiting the scrapper's torch after arrival in Port Angeles from Bremerton. The crew of the tug bringing her an estimated 11 hours from Bremerton. It took 7. They didn't appreciate and understand just how clean her hull was. Looking closely at the forward anchor, you can see the scars from the anchor chain sliding back and forth as the ship moved back and forth, reminding me of a captive elephant swaying slowly from side to side as if she was impatient to get underway. The backhoe tore up the wood's surface in the process of destroying it so that it could never be used again for that purpose. Although the vessel was destined for further scrapping at what is reputedly the most polluted harbor in the world, the EPA fretted that this wood might be contaminated with spilled engine fuel. They almost caused its removal to a landfill. However, someone convinced them that if it were stuffed in some corner of the hangar deck, no one would know what regulatory agencies felt about that contaminant. We had to remove them. Many folks thought the wood on the flight deck would be teak, but it turned out to be fir and thus commanded little further interest. In these photos, the backhoe is removing the forward catwalk, which hindered lifting equipment on the deck, such as liquid oxygen containers for the burners. Forward on the starboard side, you can see a mothballed 5-inch gun mount. The flight deck of the USS Bennington. A flimsy barrier encloses a hole cut in the flight deck to allow the dumping of island scrap material. Later, an effort was made to cut out more of the flight deck with explosives, but the initial attempt was not successful and that method was abandoned. At that time, the open doors on the port side of the hangar deck focused the blast, causing very loud noise along a very narrow path. Some of the local citizens were shaken by it, while others not too far away were barely aware of it. Now you're looking down to the hangar deck through a hole in the flight deck. This is the escalator between the pilot's ready room and the flight deck. This is primary flight control, now sitting on the flight deck. Flight deck, aft. Visible are a propeller shaft nut and streamlined fairing with close-ups. I understand that a ship normally carried a large box wrench for the propeller shaft nuts, but this one had none. Consequently, one was borrowed from the Oriskany, still in storage at Bremerton. It weighed 2,500 pounds and made a good load for a pickup. The 4 screws of bronze weighed 55,000 pounds apiece. They were removed and hoisted to the rear of the hangar deck, where they were secured for sea. The shafts were damaged beyond further use. The Smith Singapore, reputed to be the fifth largest ocean-going tug in the world at 27,000 horsepower, standing by for departure. The Smith Singapore secures her lines to the hulk of the Bennington and heads out to sea.